All right, so we're here at the close of another project here at the HQ of DNA. And I thought it would be important just to highlight not only this awesome build by Costa. This is the new 264, by the way, done for Riley Bishop of Bishop Marine Transport. Up and coming dude, love this business model he's working right now. Hardcore into the best transport for large center consoles and other things. But he decided that he was gonna get this awesome build and really do it up nice. So we wanted to make sure that we utilized all the best stuff and all the newest technology that we have. We had a couple new things. I thought it'd be important to tell you a few of the different techniques and applications that we do throughout the different process. So you understand we're gonna build some value here, and then everybody will have a better idea of what we do here at DNA. Breaking down the different areas is important for you to understand, especially if you're gonna be a new buyer. But for those of you who are professional out there, you can even check yourself against what we're doing, or if you're interested in what we're doing, you could join the academy that's coming up. When you look at this, people would say, hey, this is a ceramic coated boat, but there's so many different things that go into this. You've got different powder coated finishes, you've got brushed stainless aluminums, there's all kinds of different materials here from gel coats, non-skid, so it's really important to understand what goes into the thinking behind our application. So this is not all just a wipe on, wipe off, and the reason that we choice pick the application technique is to get the most durability. And certain materials are going to be more porous than others. So just for instance, in this area alone, there's 4 different materials. We have a chance to wet coat the metal. If you were to wipe it off, you would lose quite a bit of durability. Powder coating, it actually soaks into this and does a really good job at laying out very nicely. So there's 2 different techniques within that right there. Rubbing it in until it almost flashes off and it's even. And then we have a wet coat here. The non-skid is wet coated, so that means we leave it on. And the reason we do this again is for just based on durability and performance. Now gel coats that are smooth, okay? So all the gloss gel coat, you can't leave it on like that unless the area is like really small, because you're gonna see it. And it's not something desirable when you have to go service it. So just remember, you wanna be able to service the smooth gel coat, and that means you have to be able to polish your coating down and renew it. So these are all leveled, which means when we level, means we wipe it down. So we do multiple coats here because we don't have the ability to leave it there. And going on to all the Simrad and the different metals that we have here, antennas, we wet coat antennas. That again gives us an advantage. This little nav light here is also one of the things that you have just a little bit of this aluminum here. So we wet coat that as well. Stainless, you can't do anything with that is gonna give you something substantial. So we are a wipe on, wipe off, and then we top it with Luminex anyway. But that's 2 different processes within that one material. And that goes, you know, the same for all the other things that you see back there. So that on the hard top alone, there's multiple different techniques going on. And it is really the same coating on this, at least on this level, but there's a lot of thought and timing that goes into that. So again, that's what it takes to do this at the level that we're doing at it, which is going to give you the best result for the future. Inside of hatches, multiple things going on. Again, timing is everything. Generally, we're leaving the main decks until the very final. Why? Because we're walking all over the whole time. And we do cover decks. We actually have tons of these black sheets. We cover the decks the whole time to avoid coating spills and all kinds of foot traffic that's going to make it harder for us to keep it clean. In a hatch though, you have really a couple things that go on. First, you have the liner, and the liner is gonna see all of the heaviest contamination, okay? That's fish guts, it's mold, it's everything. So the liner inside, it's really important that we wet coat that fully. So when these guys are in here, I mean, they're literally up into the very top of this liner, because wherever you find, you know, fish guts and just gook anywhere, you're gonna wanna wipe it away easily. So the liners are fully outfitted in a wet coat. And then of course the drain troughs are as well. Now that again for durability, because you know how nasty the troughs get. On the metals, we have this strut wet coated, and then of course the edges. All right, so we stop right at the crown of this corner here. Basically at this radius, we stop. So we leave the product on here, yet we have to level it on this top corner. And that's just for looks. This is a special kind of decking material that they put on here. It's kind of rubbery, foamy. You can't put coating on this, there's no point. Regenix. We let it on there, we literally soak it with it, and then we rub it through. That gives you at least a non-stick ability, and it doesn't crust up on us. It's pointless to add coating to this, by the way. It's a waste of money. And then again, any material here, we take little foam brushes and we actually brush the coating into this and let it cure. So we leave that on there too. Again, these will probably get rust on them in the future, but it's way, way longer for that to take place. All right, so another thing that like constantly happens to a lot of vessels within the hatches where we store like ice bags and anything with ink on them, okay? I'm sure you've seen this where you actually have the imprint of an ice bag transferred on the gel coat. It's like really impossible to take off. So that is much the reason why when we look at a forward cooler like this, you know, an area where they're gonna be throwing ice and drinks, it's really good to have a treatment. Again, very, very durable coating in here. Even the marine board is important for us because this is gonna get stuff all over it too. So we wanna make sure that we pay attention. The same thing goes back to the seals, where we actually apply to the seals. These have to stay open for a while, by the way. It takes about an hour for these to set up to where you can close them. That's, again, it's a timing thing within the project. So from the struts to the seals to the troughs, the inner liners, there's a lot going on in the hatch itself, but once it's done, it's beautiful to work with in the future as far as cleaning up. Okay, so a couple little things. Remember, decals always have to go on first. Yes, we could apply them afterwards, but it just takes a little bit of effort to use some compound and rough up the surface to break that surface and actually allow for this. These were already on, that was good, but you can coat right over the graphics. Little things, like these rubber keeps here. These are really, really gonna turn shitty really quick. So even that little thing, they're so important. And again, foam brushing into these areas, just into the metals, always important. You're trying to get the best foot forward. Vinyl seats, a lot of different brands out there and blends, but there's a lot of like the same that are getting used. Now Release is obviously using some of that quality product, which is great because it shows really well and it's very durable. It is not true that the vinyl is being built to last forever. There's nothing that lasts for 20 years. There's a few old school guys that say that, but we are effectively rubbing the product into the surface and leaving it there, but it does soak in. So it actually starts out about 2 shades glossier, and it pulls in and kind of drops down to this kind of perfect crispiness, which I love. So this is a wet coat, but it's special because of how we rub it in. The next thing is look at the varnish work that's done. This may be an epoxy, but either way, these things will have, you know, the same susceptibility. So this is a wipe on, wipe off. And moving right into the pieces of the T-top here, this is one of our newer green lighted coatings that we've dealt with. Generally doing dark colors, it's impossible to put a coating on there and leave it wet, which is great for the high build, the performance out of it, the durability, but this is a very unique special coating. So we're able to do that and still retain full gloss over years, and it never drops back and has rainbow, so that's really good. Moving down into the windshield, again, we're able to use the Luminex because it's so effective. You don't actually need to use a coating. And this is an acrylic, so they've actually got glass on the sides and acrylic on the front, looks like. And so there's a couple different things going there, but that's another product as well. Underside of the hardtop, you know, you're constantly moving around all these little things. So DNX, clearly wipe on, wipe off, and then all to the back here, right into the helm area. This is where it gets a little bit intricate. So working with the throttles and controls, it's important that the guys, you know, keep in between the lines, remove the stuff from the stainless polished stuff, you know, joysticks and even radios, you know, we remove these and coat these fully. This is just, again, best foot forward kind of mentality. So some things are actually worked in and it's kind of wet a little bit, and then other materials in the same area have to be leveled. So there's a lot of juggling back and forth between techniques as you're doing this to kind of manipulate what effect you want to get. And even the covers. Look, these covers come off the boat, they go on tables, but these covers get coated too. Why? Because they're gonna be outside too. So they're gonna be just as much in play, and we're already there. So it's important that we do our best. Going into, let's say, the same thing as with lockers. Lockers are the same as the hatches are. So they're gonna be treated just the same. And it's important that we look at speaker grills and plastics the same as we did the other trim. So anything that you can see, we have to treat. And that's important for us because we want to have 100% continuity. And when you have that one surface feel on everything, it's really, really awesome to be able to clean. Now you have kind of the same materials in the back, and as you kind of look through this, these are all the similar materials. So we're doing the same processes, we're just breaking this up into different segments. And then of course we have the engines. So those power poles right there, we will extend those and deploy. We will spray them just because they have so many little notches and all the little slots that you see, we spray that through. That's so we have, you know, again, the best coverage. And then of course there's some hydraulics in there and some hoses. Once you open them up, you can see some metal and some rubber. Same thing. We're gonna treat those. If you take a look, standard on every outboard engine, you're gonna have rigging tubes and hydraulic lines. We've learned over time not to put too much product on these because it'll actually brick out or pop or crack. and it doesn't look like it's cracked, but it turns kind of whitish. So over time, we realized that it was good to rub this in and kind of get to a point where it's not too wet. The rigging tube is wet coated, blends in beautifully, which is nice. And then of course our bracket areas, this is where we utilize the spray techniques. The big thing there is you can see how many different areas you have to get into. So it's really impossible to do it effectively and get a good layout with your hand, whether you're using foam brushes, applicators or not. It's just not a really good consistent result. So what we like to do is we'll cover this area and then we'll take the HVLP gun and we'll just spray out this entire area. That way it gives us a consistent layer thickness and it's durable. This is an area that gets trashed. So this is also the area that I'm gonna always plug the Regenix into. Whenever you wash up, leave the Regenix in there if you want. I mean, it's really, really effective at keeping those materials looking good, and also the coating itself. So that's another little tip. And then of course, down to the engines, we have wet coating on the chaps and down. Cowlings have to be leveled, and that's just because we need to service them in the future. So it's not about looks as much as it is servicing in the future, to be able to polish them down and fix them. We used to wet coat engine cowlings, and we have the ability to do that where you can't even see it. Permex, however, it's in the future, servicing it, we believe that certain things should be left to be, easier to, refresh. And that's kind of why we kind of turned away from wet coating on cowlings, which was still good. It just depends on the application too. Down to lower units where we have our E100 all the way down for super durability. So just to kind of recap this, like there's a lot of different techniques, different manipulations of the coating, different coatings. We are definitely covering 100% of everything, even into bilges. I mean, look, fish boxes, you name it. The stuff is inert, so there is no chemical reaction. So it's safe. You're not gonna ruin anything there, but you have that easy clean, so that's why we do it. And other than that, that's kind of the full walkthrough of what a DNA Ultra coating looks like. And just to give you a little insight, hopefully that answers some questions, of course. So one of the goals for 23 was to be able to communicate without having to be reached all the time. As you grow the business, like everybody needs to have questions answered, but we figured why not create some content that'll help. But then how do we get that content to you all the time? Generally it was texting a link or emailing it, and while that may work, it wasn't easy and accessible all the time. On a Sunday where you might feel bad about contacting me, or you're just in the middle of it and I can't get to you anyway, I don't have my phone on me. Let's just think about this. How do we communicate? Well, we decided that in 23, we wanted to launch our new QR code for aftercare. So effectively, now we have the ability to give you the chance to just pop in on us anytime. We made the DNA Aftercare QR code, and this is gonna go right to our aftercare videos on YouTube. And we're gonna update all the time. Like videos like this that we do, we're gonna update these all the time, just so you have like the really coolest, newest, freshest information, and just updating is fun too. And you'll notice that right down here, there was a box full of all of our aftercare product. This is a staple for us to be able to have everybody set up right from the get-go. All the materials they need. You've got your Regenix in there, fresh soap, Luminex. There's so many great things in there. And this is what we do with our Ultra packages. So from the beginning, you get the full customer service. From the middle of the project going on, you get communication with video. Like we're really on top of that all the time. So we're always kind of telling you where we're pivoting, what we're doing. And then of course, at the end, when it goes to aftercare, not only will we educate you on what's in that box and how to use it, but we're making sure with that aftercare QR code that you can access the information anytime you want. And like I said, that's gonna be kind of something that we'll build on. So we'll probably make new versions of tips and techniques all the time, just to keep it interesting. And other than that, that is what we like to do here in the DNA, Surface Concepts world, and just to handle you guys the best. Questions about wraps. So this is awesome, by the way. We got custom artwork done, and this is gonna be, one of the things that we're gonna make a determination. So when we have a laminated wrap, this is gonna be locked in with a really durable top layer anyway. And we found that in the past, it really wasn't as effective to do coatings on laminated wraps as much as we wanted it to over time. So it was kind of like, it's an added cost, it's an added process. So what we found is that Regenix, actually, you keep hearing me say that, it's a really strong silica spray, very, very good for wraps. Now, if you just had a one-colored, non-laminated wrap, I would say coatings are great because they can kind of penetrate, they can build a layer up on it. That's the big thing. But laminated wraps, it's really not necessary to coat them. And believe me, I've been there, I used to do that all the time. But we're just adjusting as we go. We also have the rub rail, which is coated in DNX. Sometimes these come out glossy, sometimes they come out natural. But again, this is worked into the surface and left, so it actually just absorbs into it, which is great. You want to impregnate the material that you're working with. And also the bottom, we were able to lift and remove this from the trailer, and the sponsons were fully done beneath. You want 100% coverage. That's going to give you some anti-drag, not that this thing probably needs it, but also that non-stick quality and stain blocking. Again, gray bottoms, white bottoms, you're always going to take on some kind of contamination. So this vessel, okay, under the Ultra guidelines, everything on it inside and out, every single piece of the inside of the console and outside, down to the bottom, is fully coated. That gives you a measurable amount of, projected durability that we want. We want to go up to like 3 or 4 years with this stuff, and of course service it easily, but we want to have one surface for them to experience and clean, and that makes it really easy. And again, this is the kind of work that we can do inside this facility. It may not be possible for if you're pricing out mobile outfits to do this for you, or even at a manufacturer where they're kind of in a production line. But if you're looking at the top, what a standard could look like, here we go. This is the DNA standard.